Okay, so chapter 4 of How to Be an Artist by Gary Saltz. All right, so also on top of that, please remember to, if you would like to donate to the Art Center to continue for having our book club. Yes, I have to do our public service announcement. And, and now on chapter 4. Recognize the otherness of art. Is the writer much more than a sophisticated parrot? Gustave Flaubert wondered. Most artists know this feeling, that we're being led by something other than ourselves, outside of ourselves. We all choose our styles, our materials, modes, tools, and so on. But the work we create isn't a matter of conscious choice. I never quite know what I'm going to write when I write it, and then I'm not sure where it came from. This is the art's otherness. It is so powerful that you might sometimes wonder if art is using us to reproduce itself, if art might be self-replicating cosmic force, or a fungus that has colonized us into symbiotic service. This can be thrilling, but it can also be unsettling. It's like a ghost is writing, Bob Dylan said, except the ghost picked me to write the song. Now, don't let this creep you out. Instead, learn to trust it.
I think it's amazing. I feel lucky when that happens because I know I'm going to do some of my best work and I don't care why. It's just there. And I've learned over the years to embrace it and trust it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones where you just like, it works better when it speaks through you instead of trying to force it in a different direction.
Did you read already?
I did.
I just been having, I can't keep a Zoom icon on my thingy.
Okay. We're talking about the otherness of art.
I know, I read it this morning.
All right. Well, that's okay. Everyone is joining us late today, so it's all
Wait
good.
a second. She's color coordinated to her painting behind her.
Of course she is.
Purple shirt. Barbara, you and I are too neutral.
So Miss Eisenberg, we have you were talking to me earlier about, you know, you had read this chapter and thought about the otherness. I mean, what do you think Jerry means by otherness?
Wait, I'm sorry. Were you talking? Sorry. I was looking at the
Barbara. Barbara Eisenberg, please tell us.
Yes. No, I wasn't, you know what? I was drifting. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's my otherness. Okay, it got me. Let someone else speak first. I'll come back to it. Okay. I'm sorry.
Does anyone, Judy, you want to speak first?
Oh,
okay.
Oh yeah. This is a really interesting to me topic because over the years, I don't believe I do the art. I believe I'm just a channel for it.
I agree.
And two things I've found out. I've asked artists, well-known ones and not well-known ones, does your art come from you or through you? The ones that they say it comes from me, their art doesn't have the depth to me. The one that they say it comes through me does have depth. And when doing the salon over the last few years, most of the artists we've talked about have a spiritual connection and their work is from that. So
that's good to know. That's really good to know.
I totally agree with that. That's how I paint.
Yeah.
I feel I have to get out of the way and let the paint evolve. And then I'm shocked sometimes. It doesn't always come out well in my estimation, but I'm always shocked about what gets on the canvas. I mean, whether it's figurative drawing too, as well as abstract. I think you just have to get out of the way of the art.
I think also a lot of artists just call it intuitive at that point too.
Right.
That it's like, oh, well, I practiced enough and it just becomes second nature. I just, how do you explain it? And there's the kicker of going from just as a painter to a teacher. You then have to actually explain how you're going through your process. And I wonder if Jerry ever has to do that. And because he doesn't really explain his writings. Does he teach? I mean, he's teaching through this book in some way, but
He's teaching, I think he's teaching for you to hear what you need to hear and give you permission to do what you do. I feel like the answer lies within each of us. It's so much like therapy. It is. It's not somebody else's answer.
Yeah.
It's not somebody else's answer. It's your answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question I've always wondered. Why doesn't it appear all the time? Like sometimes when you're producing a work, whether it's writing or painting, the canvas turns out unbelievable. And then other times you just don't ever seem to find the answer and you have to put it away. Why are there some moments when it happens and some when it doesn't?
It's a process.
Yeah.
And my job is to stay connected. And so to me, we were talking about this last night at an AA meeting. It's my job to keep connected to my higher power. And that doesn't happen by just saying, oh, hi there, once in a while. It requires, like being an artist, it requires going in the studio, learning your materials, and you may not ever do it the way you learned them, but it's a constant connecting and growing in all artists. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you put something away for a year and then you pull it out and say, oh my goodness, I didn't see that in there before. And
yeah.
So, it's just getting my will out of the way and making a commitment to do the work, whatever the work happens to be.
And there also comes down to, trusting yourself, trusting your higher power, your path, or, what you're following, and that, what time that the universe works through you may be real time, or it may be 3 years down the road. I think all of us have had that one where we pulled work out after the fact, and it's either you go, oh, or you're like, oh, I really like this. How come I didn't do more with this?
Right.
It really, because as we go through the process as artists, we are continually growing and evolving. The world, every experience that we have, be it from, going out and getting the mail to seeing a bird fly by in the sky or having a deer in my backyard yesterday, influences us in little subtle ways.
Right.
And continues us on that path as as an artist, or even as a path as a person. So I think you just have to stick with it, Carol. I know you are.
Yeah, right. More than ever.
Yes.
I mean, I'm grateful for this time down here. I would have been home back to work on a normal time, and because I'm here, I just keep every day there's some kind of painting, and if there isn't, it's just because I'm not sure what paint to put on what I'm looking at.
Well,
but the next day it'll happen.
Yeah, but then you get to that point where if the paper isn't working today, you find a different thing to work on.
Right.
So that's what I end up doing.
Right.
Bethy, how do you work through your bumps and hurdles?
If I'm really suffering through a block, I'll put the painting aside, and because you can't, I find that if you try to force things, it's just not going to.
Right.
It's going to go there. It's just as someone was saying, if we're channeling, if something's coming through us, you know, when you're in that zone, you can feel it. I mean, the time just disappears.
Right. Yeah.
So if I'm not there, I'll put it aside and either, you know, maybe start something else, maybe go draw, maybe go just do something else if I'm feeling like I need to do something artistic, or I'll just say, today's not the day I need to do that. I wanted to say one thing about, I write poetry also, and someone was asking me recently about that. And in that case, it's such an example of something coming through you. So I don't have any of the learned skills of writing poetry. I wish I did, but I don't have that. This is truly how poetry, and I've been doing this all my life, happens to me. I'll see something, there'll be a phrase. If I'm near a piece of paper, that poem will come out, 5-10 minutes. I might wordsmith once or twice, but that's it. And that happens, you know, sometimes it can happen once a week, sometimes it's once a year. And I cannot force poetry out of me. I cannot sit down and make myself write poetry. So that truly feels like something just channeling right through me.
Can I say something?
Of course, Kathy, please.
All right, this is my first time, so I just finished watching the first chapter and read all the reviews about the book, and it sounded phenomenal. And I want to answer your question because I've been where some of you are, and I'm still where some of you are. It's like I have like an artist block or something. I have something sitting there, and it's like I can't get back to it. And then I start feeling bad about it. And then I start feeling convicted about it. Then sometimes there's that negative self-talk like, well, you know, I'm not really an artist. I'm not really showing commitment. And, you know, the whole thing that everybody's been talking about. And plus, Elizabeth, I think it was you that said, you know, everything influences around us and everything.
Yeah.
And where I'm at, I have not really been too influenced or inspired by looking at other houses in my neighborhood. I live in a gated community, and so it's just house after house after house after house, and some lawn, and then some sidewalk. And so it's not been, I just realized, you know, that's probably part of my problem is I haven't been able to get out and really get inspired what's around me, which I'm used to, I'm visual. But something that did help me, and maybe it'll help somebody else, is I had the idea about a month ago, you know, I've got a sidewalk in front of my house. And I thought, wow, you know, here I have a large palette that's totally empty. And I thought, you know, okay, so I can't do, right now I'm having a problem doing art for a gallery exhibit. I thought, but why not do something like that and just, you know, have fun with it and inspire walkers or bicyclists. And so what I've been doing is I've been taking chalk, and all I had was 3 colors and got them at Dollar Tree while I still had a chance. So I just used the 3 colors, and then eventually some things started opening up. So I went to a thrift store and got more colors. But I mean, I started with just 3 colors. And so I just started doing my art, doing some art rather, because I don't normally do that kind of art, on the sidewalk, whether it was a bicycle with the handlebars showing the flowers, or like Easter time, I did an empty tomb, you know, just different subject matter. I would do pieces of artwork like the girl with the pearl earring and said, artist name, title, question mark. I would try to make it interactive when I could. And so that's what I did. And that kept me from going maybe stir crazy and maybe just giving up from frustration. You know what I'm saying? And say, I give up. You know, what's the sense of trying? You know, nothing's coming in. And it made all the difference in the world. And it also opened up where people would come by deliberately just to see what was going on. And so I met new people. And so I mean, a lot of people that were strangers. I've never met them before. And it's been interesting. And it's kept my creative juices going, even though it's nothing that I would literally put and exhibit. You know what I'm saying? It's not something I would put in an exhibit, but it's keeping the creative juices flowing, and it's keeping me occupied. And that helps me stay away from depression, at least somewhat. You know what I'm saying? The frustration, the challenge. And I just want to throw that idea out there. If you've got, you know, a sidewalk or something, and it's like you're battling artist block, whatever it is, you know, that's something to at least do and bless somebody else maybe at the same time, because people are saying, you know, I really enjoyed that. That has really made a difference, you know, because I look at that and it perks me up or whatever it is, you know, and it's actually been a lot of fun. And I've never done that before.
Mm. No, I found I was at that point when in school where, you know, it would be the same routine every time.
Mm-hmm.
I started looking at the smaller things or little things in the world, which is why I start noticing nature or a leaf falling a certain way. It was my way of kind of re-energizing my brain without having to, you know, stray too far from the classroom space where I was, you know, I was stuck in there doing printmaking, which is not at all stuck in there, is not the right word.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, so, but we are in the classroom space or you're in your studio, and, you know, it's the little things that help stimulate you. I mean, that's why artists, if you look around your house or your yard, you've filled your house with things that make you smile, or it's a memory, or it's something that kind of promotes, you know, for lack of, you know, a lame term, we'll just say it promotes joy. So we're not going to go and throw it out, but I really don't like that process because I am an art hoarder.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Look who's here.
Annie, yay! So the idea would be like, you know, you find the little things, and we surround ourselves as artists with those little things. If you look in the background of pretty much everyone's background, and I think Susan's in her office, so you can't, she has a blank wall behind her, but Judy's got a painting. Beth has some artwork on the wall, and did you weave that blanket too? Yeah. Oh, I muted you.
I'm just showing a little art.
Oh, that one. Sorry, that's my aunt. I'm picking on her today.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, that's fine.
No, it's all good.
But I love what you said about poetry, because I also write, and I've written a lot of, I always call them ditties. I don't respectfully call them poetry, but it is like painting for me. Wherever it comes from, it's, you know, aren't I lucky to have that? I used to call it the God zone. It just drips out. It drips out on the canvas or writing, and you can't control it. It's just, I mean, you can go back and you look at it if you want to refine it, but it's my question often, especially when I do something that I really like, is where did that come from? Where did that come from? It can't be forced. You can learn how to, in my estimation, you can learn how to use mediums and become aware of all the supplies that we have at our fingertips. But I don't know how you can learn to paint.
You can't.
You know, I mean, do you agree with that, Judy?
I do, definitely. Yeah, and I do think that it's important to learn what the mediums that you use do.
Yes.
And then you can break the rules. But if you don't know what they do, it's just, you're dishonoring, that's too strong a word, but you're not giving yourself the benefit that you,
Right.
Because I keep exploring things and half of it goes in the trash. I did want to say something that I read years and years and years ago, and it was a Somerset mom said that his job was to every day go into wherever he wrote, I guess his library, and sit down and open that channel. And by doing it every day, you start connecting, and you get to a point where you don't have to think about it. You just go in and it starts to happen. And I've had that happen. You know, it's a job, and we all know that. It is a job. So, yeah, thank you.
No, and I really think that is true. The more, you know, the brain is a muscle, and even though it is gray, squishy matter, and your creativity and your artistic sensitivity is a muscle too. Be it a more, you know, kind of almost like a spiritual muscle at that point. But you really want to practice it, and you want to manipulate it and use it on a daily basis, be it from journaling or just going into your studio and you know, poking around and digging through things and remembering, you know, oh, I remember when I did this sketchbook or whatever, or drawing on the sidewalk for the joy of yourself and for others. I mean, I know Tracy has been making, you were working on stained glass for a little while, and the latest thing that was some type of what was it? It was like there were starfish and all sorts of, like, a collage mirror that you'd worked on for the shop.
Yep. I wanted to say there was an artist when I moved to the islands in my early 20s. There was a well-known artist. She was a painter and a printmaker. She was in her 60s, and she always had like a block. She said, I feel like I'm always, when I'm painting, I have this block. I get blocked. So she would always paint a square. And she started, she told me this, I don't know if it was in confidence, but over the years I would go to her shows and I would see always a square in every painting. She was mostly a printer, but she, sometimes the squares were really big. So I was like, ooh, she must have had a really big block. And sometimes, you know, she would have this beautiful landscape and there'd be this little red square. And I thought that must be like her way of being like, okay, I'm going to start with the square and then it's going to come. It's like she trained her brain to have that one shape. It was the same color. And then it went from there. So I always, whenever I went to her shows, I was like, oh, there's the square. There was the start. And then it would go from there. But I thought that was, I always think of that. So that reminded me.
Who was that artist? What's her name?
There was Elaine Estern was one, and I'm trying to remember her name. I was just looking it up when Elizabeth, I think her son got in an accident and passed away, and I think she moved off the island, but I will find her.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What island are you talking about?
St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Right.
Oh, I thought she was on Longboat.
No. No, I will find her though.
So Jerry is talking about his version of otherness. And when I first read this like chapter, it came across kind of, I don't know if it was more of a negative vibe to me, or that he had more of a, more that he had just more that he was frustrated with trying to explain this. What do you guys think on that one? Anything?
I agree with you. And I find that some of his stuff is negative.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's hard to use the word God or spirit, or I use universe in general public because people become offended by it or whatever. So, you know, that may be his issue. Maybe he just doesn't really know where it comes from. And I'm not, actually I am sure, but you know, we all have our own belief system and our own way of working.
It is. It definitely is a difficult conversation to kind of get across, and that he does it in 2 paragraphs is kind of like,
Yeah.
a very brief chapter, but it's a very personal and a very
Pithy.
tied to one.
Pithy.
Pithy, yeah.
Well, as I recall, listening
More
to his
insightful.
story, he really didn't think too highly of himself for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, perhaps that's part of his somewhat negative picture. Why me? Why am I here? Who pushed me into this? Because I never was going to amount to anything. And, I don't remember the specifics of his background, but it wasn't too rosy.
Yeah.
And it took him a long time to get where he was.
He did not have a very happy childhood.
And he doesn't really believe that he deserves to be where he is, I think.
Yeah, he's a very sometimes it's interesting because sometimes his articles will be they'll be very light and joking, and then the next paragraph they'll get into something that's really dark. So he goes through these moods within the piece, and the fact that that's what he's gone through in this one chapter is interesting too. But it also shows that I think that he's purposely doing it that way, so that saying that not everyone is going to be seeing it this way, not everyone is going to be understanding it this way, but this is how I'm grasping at it at the moment.
Well,
But
I think that's so true, because to me, that's the continuing magic of creation. It goes beyond the artist.
yeah,
And it's always so interesting to me. And I think I said this last time, is how people view your art. Not is it good or bad, but what lens are they looking through?
mm-hmm.
And I remember reading a book about Helen Frankenthaler, and she was very funny. And she was talking about a book that was written, a critique on her writing. And can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she was, in this book, she was saying, well, where did they get that? Some astute art critic was talking about her paintings, and it's like, really? Oh, isn't that interesting to hear? As if somebody else was looking at it and finding it to be a very different journey. So I think multiple journeys happen when we look at art, or when we make art.
Well,
Right. It's interesting if you have an opportunity to ask a viewer of your work. And I had this last year at a show up in Bradenton, and there was this couple looking at a print I'd done, and I liked it. Elizabeth didn't like it, but I put it in the show anyway. And there was this couple looking at it, and I went up and I said, I'm the artist. And they said, well, we like it. And I said, well, would you tell me why you like it?
I always ask that question.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. And I also think I love to hear when somebody doesn't like it. Why don't you like it? It's usually a guy, and he doesn't like pink. So.
no peach. Don't put peach in your painting. I won't like it. It's really kind of fun when you walk around the galleries and you're just like, okay, well, especially since I'm there all the time. When I walk around the galleries and at each show, it's like it becomes repetitive, and I'm like starting to notice the patterns of pieces that I like, and what work I'm more drawn to and what work I'm not drawn to. And I'm not sure I like recognizing that pattern with it that's forming within me, because it's feeling confining and conforming, and more that I'm not being very understanding to and open to everything. But
it can inform you about your own art.
Yes. Yeah.
No, but I think, Elizabeth, once you recognize something like that, I think that you will work to change that.
Yes. Oh,
If you
yes.
never recognized it, that would be way worse. So this is a step.
Thank you. we are all going through our steps with everything these days. Does anyone have any other our work that they'd like to share, or influences that they'd like to talk about?
You mean work that we've done that we'd like to share?
Yeah, Carol, did you bring something today?
With sitting in the kitchen, I could
Go for it.
I don't think it's finished yet, but
Okay.
it's a color combination I've never used before. All right, so what do I do to switch camera?
There.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Wow.
Where
nice.
is it? Oh,
How do we see it?
Judy.
I love that.
Who said
Can't
that?
see it. I can't
did.
see it.
Tracy.
Oh,
Why
nice.
can they not see it? What, I had to press switched camera. What do they have to press, Elizabeth?
No,
That's
they can
good.
we can see it.
Oh, we saw it for a moment.
What's
Mary.
the medium?
Acrylic. And the canvas is, I think, 48 by 48.
Mm.
Can everyone see this one?
I'm only seeing 9 blocks. How do I get more?
Oh, okay. There should be a little arrow on the right that'll allow you to get farther and farther people.
Oh, I wondered how you got more because I've been looking at the same people.
Yeah, well, actually, I think I can do. Can you guys see that now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow,
Okay,
that's
so-
bigger than all outdoors.
So, Carol, how many hours have you put into this one?
Well, why don't you ask me what was underneath that? Because
Okay.
there were umbrellas. I don't paint any kind of realism, but I did a small painting with umbrellas that just represented a lot of different colors and different directions. And I thought, well, I could just make it bigger and that'll be fine, but it wasn't fine. So I said, all right, I'm going to play with color, but I'm going to play with color combinations that I don't usually use. And that's what this is.
Love it.
This is still a work in progress because I think it needs some more focus of bigger areas of color and not so many smaller spots, I'm guessing. But I won't know until I'm finished. But I like that I'm playing with a different palette. That's about as much as I can say. Does that answer whatever you asked?
Yes. No, I definitely agree. It is a different palette for you. And that experimentation is great. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if you feel that there needs to be a focal point or if there needs to be some weight in any place on it, or if you just want it to be.
No, I absolutely think that what you just said, I have not found the weight. I'll show you one where it did work out. I don't know, is this taking up too much time?
Have you turned that one around
I was
upside
going
down,
to say,
side?
Yeah.
upside down.
Oh, yeah, it's upside down from the way I started.
But have you turned it on its side?
Oh, no, I could try that. Can you see this one?
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah, I think I worked like a better area of keeping colors, not so many, better focus. So my new bathroom became my gallery. Because the only big white walls I had. So what the heck? But now I'm going to go back and see what you're talking about and see if I can't. Oops. So somebody else can talk because this is big and I have, if I'm going to turn it.
Okay.
Judy, which way did you want it to go? Well, anyway, I'll just try it.
Well, that's what the one behind me I'm working on, and this thing is taking, I've been working on this like 2 months.
Mhm.
I
And,
like it.
and I keep turning it around. It's upside down from the way I've been working on it, and it's sitting in my living room for the moment. This is my office because my Wi-Fi doesn't go into the studio. And I just keep turning it around because I saw something the way it was earlier. And it just, you catch it out of the corner of your eye. So
I think you're on the right track with, keeping it in a space where you're going to be seeing it, even passing by.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. All right, so now I turned it on one side, so everything is going like,
Yeah,
from left to
that
right.
becomes almost like reflection on water.
Yes, it does. Oh my God. Thank you, ladies.
All right. So Carol, we'll see how you progress next week. Kathy, do you want to tell us about the picture you have behind or in your, are you still there, Kathy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out how to best show it. I was messing around with it.
That's
It's
all
kind of mixed media. This is how it looks looking back from it. And then if you get close, I made a stencil for this. I'm getting shadows, sorry about that. But you can see that it's got depth to it.
Wow.
And it's called Her Story. And then I put like native prints on it, the kind of the look up there also. And then around the neck, I've got printing. It says, by not forgetting where you came from, I got to read this, you ensure you remain grateful and humble.
nice.
That's what I've got there.
And that's a painting or a print?
That is a painting.
Be a great wood block or a linoleum block.
Yeah. It's got
That's
nice
really
graphic
interesting.
lines.
I cut stencils to help out with it.
Yeah.
So
I drew it on something and then I cut it out. And then I used like plaster at the top right there.
Don't ruin dinner.
And then paint pen like right there. And the acrylic, with the native prints right there. And then the white background. And then I used like a uniball to write on the collar.
Mhm. Now, where do you, when you originally started this piece, where did you envision it going?
I just wanted to tell the story. I think we all need to look. I'm going to switch away from the painting out. That's okay.
Yeah.
I find it hard to talk. And it feels weird. But anyways, that's why I called it Her Story. Because I just, we've all got a story to tell. And for some reason, I had thought about like, it's not African, kind of like an African third world type thing. And at that time, was almost in my mind. And I just wanted to tell the story because we all have a story to tell. And that's her story. That's where she came from. And, I just realized, gosh, I don't know. Right there, if you can see that, there's a picture of a mother with a baby on her back picking from the fields.
It's down a little.
Okay. Yeah. And then up there is a chicken. So it's kind of like, telling where she came from, because we've all come from different, backgrounds, whether it's affluent or the farm, whatever it is. And so I've been thinking about maybe trying to do a series on it and do different stories of different people, whether it's a farmer and a farming background or whatever it is.
I like the fact that it's almost monochromatic. You've got a little gray in there, but you're using multimedia too. And I think that adds to it and gives it that idea of a story, or of journaling or of the written word. But remember, what is the primary part that you want the viewer to focus on? Do you want it to be the face? Do you want it to be the text? or do you want it to be the texture? And you've got 3 different messages right now for that. So
well, that's why I have it titled Her Story, because that's her story. And when you look at our stories, there are different facets in it. And so this is looking back at where she came from, her humble beginnings. And it's basically to point out to people, you know, don't forget where you came from. Sometimes we forget where we came from where we are now. And we need to remember where we came from sometimes. It'll keep us humble.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, you doing it in multiples, that makes that aspect of a story being told even stronger, because it's
plus I made a point of making this part like back here, so it's more subtle. So the focus is on her, and then it's where she came from. And so these kind of fade in the background, but yet they're still there.
Yeah.
So that's really the focus right there. And this is where she came from. And so it's why it's in the light grays and the whites and stuff and the creams and whatever. So it doesn't take over.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate you sharing. We'll see how it progresses maybe next week too. All right. So does anyone else have anything that they would like to share today? Leslie, do you have something? Okay, I guess not. All right, so
So there.
So to talk about, I mean, we were talking about the otherness, and the otherness of art and how to deal with it and that kind of stuff. For me, you know, I always go back to, you know, what book can I find that will help me? And for once, it is not Art and Fear that I'm going to be showing you today. It is this one, The Artist Way, by Julia Cameron. Now, this book series, Julia it's more about discovering and recovering, well, she calls it the course in discovering and recovering your creative self. And I use it for 1, when I get stuck with an artist block, and 2, when I'm just kind of grasping at straws as to where, like when I'm questioning myself. And one of the things that I absolutely love about hers is that every morning she says that you need to do journaling, or a daily affirmation, or something saying that, you know, welcome the day, or start the day, or put something into the day, especially right now when we get up and you're just like, okay, well, what's going to happen today? I'm going to go sit somewhere in my house. So,
meaning she can get out of bed.
Yes. Yeah. She's definitely one of those, like, okay, well, you are not going to be the depressed artist at all. No depression is going to be happening here. But you might enjoy her books. I think they are probably readily available. There's more of a spiritual approach to your creative self and creativity within your own person. But if that works for you, that works for you. Judy?
One of my favorites of hers is called The Sound of Paper. Yeah. And it's about writing, but it's also about creativity. And I have been fortunate enough to meet her. I actually know her, and she lives in Santa Fe. And she's written about this, so I can say it. She's been through some very, very challenging times, so she knows what depression is. And her writing is amazing. And that idea, I don't know if it's in that book, I think it is, about writing morning pages.
It is. You
write 3 pages every day, and by the time you get to the 3rd page, you get to what's really going on with you. And a couple of artists I know who have great handwriting, that's how they got great handwriting, by doing that for a year. So, and I did want to say one, you know, I'm Chatty Cathy here. What I did several times is I did mandalas for myself, but I did very free form ones. And so I took a sketchbook and I did it every morning. I was going through a very difficult emotional time. And I put my oil pastels out and a pencil, and I took a dinner plate and I drew circles on every page just with a dinner plate. That was my mandala. And I would start with something in the middle. I'd go in and I'd pick up a color and start in the middle. And then I would build from that. And by the time I got through it a year later, I had it going out the edges. I have it somewhere. And it was just really, really a way of centering and information. So I'm shutting up now.
Ginny, did
What's
you
the
have?
author's name again?
Oh, Julia Cameron. I'm going to put this up on the blog. So you guys will have this link, and it'll have a link to Amazon.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, they pay me nothing. So.
Yeah.
We'll have to pay, yeah.
Right? Ginny, did you have a question or comment that you wanted to add?
Comment, because this is really poignant for me today, because I've been kind of in a block for about 3 weeks. I chose what I wanted to start painting, and then I went through and I did a little research on past other photographs that I've compiled, and it has to do with water and boats floating on water and reflections. And so I've put all these on my drawing board and I've been studying those, but I haven't gotten that connection yet because I've never approached it this way before. I paint mainly from our travels, places we've been, and I've taken photographs, what I felt good about and I wanted to paint later. And I'm having trouble, I guess, connecting with this particular photograph that I said at one time I wanted to paint. So I'm searching for that otherness, I guess, in this painting.
Yeah. Just remember, don't hold yourself to that photograph. If that one isn't working at this point, go find one that does. Don't let that one be the one that stops you.
Good point.
Yeah.
Because it meant something then, but it's not there, I guess, now.
Mm-hmm.
10 years later.
And you'll find it again. They have that tendency to pop up again.
Okay.
But all right. So to end our discussion today, I have a yeah.
I just have another book I wanted to mention.
Oh, yes, please.
So it's called The Zen of Creativity by John Loori. And it's just it's cultivating your artistic life. I really like this book.
Okay.
So that's another alternative.
I will also add that one to the blog post.
And I said I wasn't going to say anymore, but
Judy has one too. Okay, great.
I have dragged all over the place, and I find it fascinating, and it's a really good tool. It's called the Artist Workbook, Natalie Arbeloff, Line, Shape, Volume, and Light. And many times I've said, okay, this week I'm going to see lines. Next week I see shapes. Then I see colors. And so you keep a little sketchbook, and it's a good tool to get your creative juices going. It's been around a really long time, but I find it helpful. Thank you.
Hey,
Elizabeth, I found that artist if you want to
Oh,
see
you did?
It's
Okay.
Her name's Janet Cook Rutnik. She's from St. John, but I don't know if you guys can see this.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So see the square she started with there?
Yeah.
And here's another one. They're like all started with squares. I wasn't lying, see? But can you see that there?
Oh, my. Really exciting.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
All right. We'll add these to our list of inspiration for our chapter. And this post will be up for anyone who did miss it or wants to see it again, hopefully pretty soon. It takes us about a week for us to process it since we're still working from home. And
This might be the new normal, Elizabeth.
No, we're going in. I'm working on the reopening plan. So I will hopefully be able to see you guys soon.
Find the blog, Elizabeth.
What?
How do we find your blog?
Okay, so the blog is, if you go to the Art Center's website, there is a new, on the very top, there's something that says Explore. It's a new header, and underneath there it says discussions. There's also, you know, the tours that we have around the gallery. There's kids art, which are art projects for kids or adults. Doesn't have to be kids. And then we have studio visits that Danielle's that's going to be doing on Fridays. And so that's all up on the Explore area. And that Explore area is our online content. And we're going to continue doing that online content, even, you know, once they say, hey, you guys can, you know, leave your houses and it'll be fine and safe. And yeah, but.
We all have to get there in our own head, don't we?
Yes. It's fun.
I'm quite the scaredy cat.
Yeah.
Did the link for donating to the Art Center get fixed? Because I've tried it a couple of times.
Probably not, because Danielle was a little busy. So if you, you can also go to the Give page on the Art Center website. I will work on the donate button some more.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the quote that I will leave you guys with today is from Henry David Thoreau. I did try and read his book, and I just couldn't get through it, but everyone says it's amazing. That's not the quote. It's go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. As you simplify your life, the laws of the universe will be simpler. We are going simpler right now.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Enjoy, and we will see you guys next week.
My studio.
Chapter 5 is going to be art is not about understanding or mastery. There we go.
Well, let's do it.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.